Welcome back, my bitches. Let's get professional. Maybe turn off the light. I'm glad you guys are back again. I'm super chilling. Like, thank you for the 10 subscribers this month. Like, that means so much to me. I've been putting in effort. I've been putting in time. I've been putting in money. PPP loan money, you heard? I just have so many ideas I want to get out there. I want to be heard, okay? In today's topic, we're gonna talk about education. This is something that I've been encouraged by a few YouTubers to actually get into and kind of like break it down of like my experience. Because I have a love-hate relationship with education. I am so appreciative of the opportunity to be educated and to have like education, period. But like, first world problems, it ain't equal in the educational, okay? And this took me a pretty good long time to like figure out that, you know, there were marginalized differences between schools, between how good of an education you're getting, just opportunities that you're offered through your school. This affected me so much growing up, and I was uberly aware of having my education be so dependent on my zip code and where I was from. I kind of want to start a playlist, a series if you will, and I'm gonna call it Gen Z Rage, because there's a lot of things that I'm pretty sure within the next decade or two you're gonna see a lot of Gen Zers be pissed off. And I'm by no means the first person to say these things or put these things into fruition, but I am an echo inside the cave of life. Let's hear it. So yeah, like I said, this video was specifically inspired by Tiffany. Here's her channel. She talks about a lot of like relevant, really good stuff. I've been following her for a while now. Yeah, she's just so inspiring, even though she's a completely different person. When she be speaking facts, she be speaking straight facts. Love. Thank you, Tiff, for, you know, saying something. It's been strategically segregated, okay? I'm not saying that schools continue to be segregated like this, but it's definitely a phenomenon that is going on. I'm not even gonna sit here and pretend like there's not like classism that's like eating away at like what is available to people. For what am I talking about? We're talking about education, baby. I love and hate education for those reasons, and it's not fair. And once you're a kid who realizes that there's nothing you can do about the situation that you're in, it sucks. I'm gonna break it down into sections, okay? So let's just start off with elementary. My elementary school was relatively pretty poor. It's hard to say poor, like relative to like whomever you're talking about, because you could be a person coming from like a really prestigious, really expensive private elementary school, or you could be coming from like the public sector of whatever was available in your zip code, your area, wherever you're from. When I say my school was relatively poor, I mean like in every aspect. We had less. Through comparison, my elementary experience could be way better than others, same way other people could have a way better experience than me. Let's get into it. It was just poor in the way I never realized it, because you can't realize it because you're a kid. You're in elementary school. You don't notice these things until you can look back at your life and piece them together and be like, wow,
that was not an option.
It was just so underfunded as a school, and this is not even like, wasn't just like, oh, it's a my school thing. My elementary school was kind of underfunded, but this continued throughout my whole experience of education. Like, to this day, I'm still seeing repercussions of what it's like to not have a lot of money be put in the system into where you need that system in order to grow. And that's what I'm saying. My education sucked, bro.
It sucked.
And I think money had a lot more to do with it than what we are comfortable saying. But it was not cool. Like, we did not have that many sports. My elementary didn't even have like a pool or anything. I know people came from schools that had like pools, and I'm like, yo, I don't even think I ever attended public school that had a pool. Yeah, it was certain sports that we didn't have. With that, showed you like different opportunities that we had. We didn't really celebrate awards at some point. You're A and B on the roll with be a trophy one year, and then like the years predecessing after that was like, okay, certificates. I don't know if that like psychologically does something to you, but like it kind of like devalues what it's meant to be when you get on the A, B on the roll, or A on the roll, or B on the roll. I don't know if they separated it like that. Tell me in the comments below if they did that in your elementary. At some point they got really cheap with it. Like, I remember being in the 2nd grade taking piano lessons, and I remember them slowly phasing out different extracurricular type things and more focusing on like what they had to do and what they needed to do in order to perform as a school. They really prioritized certain things and really like dismissed other things, like the arts. Arts is the first to go. They make fun of that in like shows and shit. You know, we don't have the funding for it. We don't have the money. I'm like, who? This is a publicly funded school. What do you mean there's no money? But you're a kid and you have no idea. So middle school. I think middle school was one of the more eye-opening aspects, because it depends greatly on like your school district. School by school, they did it different. I personally went to a charter school. A charter school is just a fancy way of saying that type of school that we're still kind of public, but we can kind of do whatever the fuck we want. And that was true. Like, you know, they got away with certain things that a lot of schools couldn't get away with. For example, our administrative turnover rate was crazy. Every year it seemed like we had a new principal. And not only a new principal, we had a whole new team. We had a new set of teachers each time, and they would be brought in from like these weird levels of like where they came from, how experienced they were, and we were like black kids, okay? The schools I went to, for the majority, especially in middle school, I went to a black and brown populated school, you know? It was a bunch of black kids and a bunch of Mexicans. Is it PC to call the whole Latin group Mexicans? I don't know, man. They took my culture away from me, so excuse me for not caring so much of specifically saying Latinos over Mexicans. Okay? They had a new teacher almost every year. And it wasn't like they were recruiting better teachers or newer teachers. They were getting teachers that were fresh out the whatchamacall. I remember, and this is kind of cutting into like the early part of my high school, but I went to the same middle school that had an elementary, middle, and high school. It was great at first, but they got progressively worse. It was one of those schools where you had to like be kind of smarter or on the gifted side to really get in. You kind of had to know certain people to get in this school at all, which is fine, you know. I'm willing for it to be a competitive place where, you know, you have to be smart. And I was smart, but they really broke down their whole administrative process. They just started letting any kid in because what they were really doing was running out of kids to teach. And when you run out of kids to teach and that attendance sheet ain't looking like it's attending, my G, you start breaking down some barriers. I remember we just spent so much time and resources on the behavioral elements of school. I learned what I needed to learn, but I felt like I was constantly fighting to be on the level that I needed to be in order to be college ready, in order to be ready for the next grade, or to be, you know, because, you know, at some point it's gonna matter. It kind of doesn't matter in elementary. It's like all right in middle school and high school and up. You're kind of getting to like, okay, if I'm not being provided the right education or like decent enough education by proper teachers, properly trained teachers, the resources that they need to give me and everything, if I'm not getting that, that is deeply affecting what the rest of my life is gonna look like. And I remember realizing that pretty early, and that hurts, bro. And I don't think you realize it in the moment, but the way you internalize being from a poor or underfunded school, that messes with you psychologically. You just think you're not gonna add up to anything. You're not gonna be in the position to be anything else than what, you know, everybody else is doing. These are sort of where the kids that really focus on sports, because, you know, they're not gonna get much with this education over here. They gotta be fast at, you know, running, doing track, you know, whatever, basketball, whatever your thing was. A lot of kids were like sizing up what was gonna be their way out. And as they should. This shit is fucked, bro. There was a new principal every year, and with that principal came new guidelines, and like they ended up changing the school uniform year after year. They just kept switching it up, bro. So high school part 1. I'm separating these into 2 parts because I went to 2 different high schools. One being that latter part of that same charter school, and another one being a public high school in a whole nother zip code. High school I can get more into detail about because I was becoming more just aware of my situation and what was going on. Straight out the back, I knew my local high school was trash. Like, the actual public school that was available in my zip code was absolutely trash. They made it on the news for how crazy they were. Them students, these African American students who's been getting the bottom of the bottom, the less of the less, that don't get the resources that all these white kids get. They don't get all these opportunities, the programs that, you know, other kids are getting access to. We did not get that, bro. And it showed through our performance, bro. We weren't dumb, but we were dumb, bro. What could we do? What could you do as a high schooler knowing that your particular school is being so drastically underfunded that it's ruining your education? I remember there was a point where I was in my math class, and there was a situation that had happened, and it got me heated. It had got me hot. Okay, because this had to be my first semester sophomore year high school. We didn't have a math teacher for 3 weeks. This particular problem got to me because math is my best subject. As any of my teachers who know me in real life, I'm alright, but like, my math was mathing. And it gave me a good sense of like, oh, if I can do math, the hardest subject that all the other kids cry over, it was great. That year where we went 3 weeks without a math teacher, I felt my education just failing me. I remember throughout those weeks, the principal would come in and he would talk about the situation like,
yeah, we're looking for a new teacher. They're having to go through the process of being hired.
You know, whatever that is, whatever kind of excuse he wanted to give, he was giving it. I remember being so heated with this principal. I was like, sir, we are falling so behind. I knew my school was already not the top of the top, but it was at least gonna get me to where I needed to be. Because I can work with what I have to work with, but you can't give me shit and try to act like I can make it into unicorns, bro. It's not gonna add up. It is not gonna add up. And when they eventually did get us a math teacher, bro, she was so new. She was out the get-go. Like, they picked her up from college that day. And this is nothing on her. She probably was a great teacher and just needed a little bit more experience. But oh my God, the way they just threw anybody in that class, she did not last long. For real, I think she taught 1 year. That 1 year that she fumbled the bag with my class in math, we're not even gonna talk about the allegations that, you know, some of the administrators, mainly the PE teachers. But yeah, that was one of the first times I actually felt like I was being cheated out of my education, and really felt like this shit was fucked from the get-go. It was fucked from the get-go, and I don't know who deserves the ass whooping to let this happen. But maybe the best thing that I could do is just put it out there to tell people, hey, if your school had this, that, and the third, then consider yourself lucky, because at least recognize the privilege that it was to have all these programs and opportunities. And you know, so part 2 of my high school education and how this hoe failed me. This really gave me the opportunity to see the difference. By this time, I was heading towards the end of my, you know, grade school career, that K through 12. I spent the last 2 years at this high school that was in a whole different zip code. I would purposely drive 15 minutes in the opposite direction to a whole nother school with a whole different school district to avoid the school that was probably a 15-minute walk within my house. And this had an effect on me in so many ways. Socially, I had to prepare myself that I was going to a predominantly white school. Yes sirree, that had an effect. Psychologically, And I was willing to eat that because I knew a good education was gonna get me to a good place. And it did. The fact is that going to that high school made such a difference in my education. I had way more opportunities going to the school that I did end up graduating from than what I was previously doing. I was able to finally enter programs such as AV that had a bigger budget to kind of play with, you know, more programs and more opportunities. Like I said, bro, if you don't know, there's no way you could know. Because most people aren't going to like multiple high schools in multiple different, you know, zip codes, areas. They're staying in the same district with the same kids, same teachers in the same environment. Because if you don't know, you won't know. So I'm telling you right here, right now, there's a difference between your school and that other school across the water, bruh, because they are doing way better. Their resources are so much more bountiful, and it makes such an impact on what the rest of your life looks like. And it's so sad. It hurts me to know that there are kids that are the same age, same potential to do whatever, and it's gonna be the difference of where they're geologically based, which you might as well call it for what it is, which is classist. Yeah, it's a new age segregation. I ain't afraid to say it. I'm not. Because I'm not here for the bullshit. I'm here for the facts. It's not about the feelings. And people are not gonna like when you point this stuff out. But I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna be loud, and I'm gonna be proud. It might be annoying. I might get canceled. I'm willing to do that because we deserve good quality education as well. It's not fair, it's not right, and at the very least, you should acknowledge how it still happened. The shit that was going on back when we were fighting at Little Rock 9 and all that civil rights shit, that shit is still going on today. And I just hope no one is thinking like, oh, it's over, it's only in these older places, or like it only happens once in a blue moon. No, this is going on right now. Probably even worse. The pandemic in a lot of ways only exacerbated the problems that we had before. I couldn't even imagine what it's like to get an education today, that K through 12 period. If you're like learning how to read in the pandemic, bro, that's alright. Y'all gonna see when they grow up and they don't know how to do shit because y'all fucked it up for us in the beginning. I just hope you have the money to not even see it. That's the thing, y'all. Money lets you sit comfortably in a place where you don't have to internalize the difference. Money gets you out of the hood where you don't have to see the hoodlery, the dumbassity that is taking place in between these two people, bro. Another example is I was able to actually go to a competition. It was a lot more resources. They had better computers, they had better equipment, better systems. They had a dedicated teacher. They had a dedicated room for all this stuff that was going on. You could do so much more, and I was able to do so much more going to that school than the other school that I was going at. I ended up even being able to participate in a competition and having my work be shown, and I succeeded within that competition. However, we didn't continue the competition. We actually dropped out, and then I asked my teacher, you know, what happened. I know I won one of the competitions. Is there another competition I could, because I was led to believe that I had the same opportunities to pursue this dream that I had, to make something out of myself with this filming thing. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was willing to, whatever was coming my way, I was willing to accept it, bro. It really struck a nerve when the teacher just really had to say it right out. We ran out of money. It was something that they took me out of school for. It became like a whole field trip sort of thing. They had to pay for transportation. They had to rent out whatever venue they were doing. It took a lot, and I know it takes a lot. And even within the ecosystem of that school, we knew of another school that was doing even better because they had even more money. I'm like, wow, this shit really don't end, does it? The whole time leading up to my graduation, I was stressed. I was stressed out of my goddamn mind. It became more and more apparent to me that this was gonna be my resume, or what I have to offer when I was gonna be applying to colleges. And the reason why colleges was so important to me, because the formula is clear. It was pretty evident that the rest of my life was gonna look a lot different because of what I had at my disposal. Even now, as I continuously shit on college, even though I'm still finishing that hoe, I'm gonna make another video soon talking about some of my anxieties that I have going back to school, because whew, This pandemic done showed out, bro. It done showed out. It showed a lot of faults. It showed a lot of problems that we were previously dealing with. But now that everything's exacerbated, now that everything is kind of shown into light, the whole thing that like race is still a huge problem. And I'm going to these predominantly white schools, bro. I'm not safe. I don't feel safe, but I'll get into that in the video. Comment down below if you're fucking with that. I just want to normalize talking about classism within the educational system. That shit is real, bro. If you've been going to like private schools this whole time, if you've been going to like border schools or whatever school, and you might not been able to tell the difference between how much money that was going in towards the school, because nobody really cares until you see how much it has affected you. And if you're not the one being affected, then odds are you're probably not gonna be bothered with such problems. But these issues affect everyone because it affects opportunity. And if people aren't getting equal opportunity in education, then the whole system is fucked. Because we think we can be pulled up by our bootstraps. We think we are equivalently receiving the same footing and the same grounds to compete with everyone else. But if there's others who got a leg up here and others who don't really have much going on there, it's kind of hard to justify everything else in between. And maybe it's just me, but the educational system has really cheated me. I feel personally hurt by it because I could have been and done so much more had it been, the difference of money. I would love to sit here and say money doesn't matter, oh, money isn't everything, but it is. It is so deeply is. And I think another thing that's holding us back is not talking about it. We do not like talking about uncomfortable stuff, honey, because it is so evident how money changes so much. And I don't want to be the little black girl crying over everything, but damn, I can't be the angry black woman expressing these issues because then I just sound like just somebody to dismiss. And that's all I have for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me again. Thank you to all my new subscribers. I see ya. I gained like 10 within the past month, guys. That's amazing. That just shows me how much my work really is paying off, even though I have 25 subscribers in general. But hopefully, if I can blow up, receive the clout that I need to spread the word. Yeah, man. I really just want to be one of those people to speak up about it, though. Because too many people are letting things like this slide, either because of pure ignorance or just fear out of being outcasted or just not heard or seen. I just want to let you know that I see you. You are being heard. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. And I'll see you guys soon. Peace.